With the Resident Evil chapter announcement right around the corner, it's time to have fun with some speculation on what characters could come on in, what were their perks, and how would they play out in the game be. Kings and queens, welcome back to the kingdom. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. We're going to look at some amazing concepts on what killers and their powers and perks could come on into the game. Now obviously this is just speculation, and a lot of these posts were made a very long time ago, in addition to some that I've created myself. So don't take balancing and everything into account. This is just for fun and to speculate. Don't forget we are live on Twitch. The link will be down in the description, so make sure you guys do come on out. And before we jump on into this, today's video is actually sponsored. And today's sponsor is Ekster. Now we worked with Ekster in the past, and they make the most efficient smart wallets in the world. They're not just easy to use, they're also impossible to lose, thanks to their own crowd GPS tracker. If you ever find yourself rushing out the house again but you can't find your wallet, you can literally just ring it. On top of that, they're the first to offer wallet voice activation through Alexa, Siri, and Google Home. And not to mention, the wallets themselves look great. I've been using their wallets for a very long time, and I'm very happy to work with them again. So if you guys are interested in getting some of the best wallets around, make sure you take a look in the description below. And thank you again to Ekster for sponsoring this video. So my friends, it's now time to talk about what are the possibilities of the characters, as well as the perks and powers of the killers to come into the game. So the first post we're going to look at comes from the forums user Tady. I'll leave the actual post in the description below. And this was their idea in November of 2020 of a killer that can come into the game, with a killer being the Tyrant, obviously the name being Nemesis. The power would be a flamethrower. They would move at 115, and their tear radius would be 32 meters. So for the power, they said that they want him to use a flamethrower, as it makes sense. The Tyrant comes equipped with a flamethrower. Using the flamethrower, he can create walls of fire, blocking off areas for 20 seconds. Before it fades out. If close enough to a survivor, he can also use a flamethrower directly on the survivor for impact. Any survivor who would walk into the fire will begin screaming and reveal their location for 5 seconds, putting them in the injured state. Whenever a generator gets finished, the Tyrant gets ammo for his RPG, giving him the ability to shoot one round of explosives at a survivor. Any survivors caught in the blast would immediately be put into the dying state. For the Mori, he grabs the head of the survivor and impales the survivor with the blob tentacle inside his hand, then proceeds to squeeze the head and throw the corpse away. Now, this is pretty interesting. This would be the first time that we see something like a flamethrower and actual weapons, besides a death slinger, of course, being introduced into the game. So there is a possibility that it could come out since Resident Evil is here. The flamethrower, in my opinion, can work, and it does make sense if used correctly and they make it in an interesting way. The RPG might just break that boundary and cross over a little bit too much, so not sure how that would carry over, but let's carry on to some of the perks. The first one is Recipe for Disaster. After downing 4, 3, and 2 survivors prior, will cause the next basic attack to down a survivor instantly. I love this perk. This is always a perk that I've wanted in a game, and it will be really strong. It will reward you for good gameplay, and something like that would be quite nice. The next perk on the list is Hex Sharp Edges. One totem with sharp edges. When broken will give the survivor the broken effect until down. So pretty nice perk there. And the final one is No Time for Breaks. After being hit by a pallet, the killer is filled with rage. The next hit you do on a survivor will cause a killer to skip the clean / staring at the weapon animation to keep the pressure going. Only works once per pallet. So this is kind of like a save the blast for last and unrelenting combination. It would be pretty interesting to see. Now obviously these concepts aren't fully balanced, so take everything with a grain of salt, as I always say, because it's just concepts and we're here for fun. And the survivor that will be added is Jill Valentine. Ooh. So the perks are as follows. Health Checkup. A survivor grants the ability to make one totem able to heal whoever stands near it for one state before automatically broken. A sabotage totem will have green fire when changed and can be broken by a hit from a killer. Requires the survivor to plant said ability on the totem, cannot be broken by other survivors after it's been changed, doesn't replace hex totems but can be planted on it while sabotaging one. This is also not an instant heal. It'll take 10 seconds to work. So pretty interesting. A passive heal if you go to a specific part of the map and you yourself have to put it in a specific area, specifically on a totem. The next perk on the list is Kick It. Speed up the process it takes to down one totem by 60% via kicking it. This only works after finishing 2 generators. And the final perk on the list is Knock It Off. Sabotage a hook to fall off immediately after a killer hangs a survivor on it, causing it to stun for a few seconds and gives the survivor endurance. Still counts as a hook and will not work if the survivor is on their last hook, respawns a new hook for 15 seconds. So you basically can beat the killer up with a hook. Interesting concept. It's like Breakdown, but in a twist. Pretty cool concept nonetheless for this chapter, and this would be a Jill Valentine and Nemesis chapter in the game. Now, the next thing we have on the list is something that you guys probably already seen, but I had to give light to this because it is just absolutely amazing. When I first saw this, I wanted to share with you guys an April Fool's joke originally, but then so many people started talking about it, so it wouldn't have made for a good April Fool's joke. But I did say that I would mention this in the video to one of the creators of this, and I'm holding true to that because it is just absolutely amazing. For those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about the Resident Evil concept that came out quite a while ago, talking about Mr. X coming into the game. Now, if you haven't seen the entire thing for yourself, I highly recommend that you do. I'll leave the link in the description, and this was just absolutely amazing with Mr. X coming into the game. Now, we're just going to go over the perks and the power. You can watch the gameplay itself in the link in the description, but let's talk about it. The power is Relentless Pursuer. Relentless Pursuer 1. When chasing a survivor, your power gauge charges by 10% per second. Once full, you'll go to Relentless Pursuer number 2. While in Relentless Pursuer number 2 and above, you gain the ability to use Impatience. The special ability Impatience, press the power button to activate Impatience. Impatience depletes your power gauge at a rate of 5 per second. When activated, your movement speed is increased by 10% and your red stain is hidden. Then we have Relentless Pursuer number 3. While in Relentless Pursuer 3 and above, you gain the ability to use Tyrant Impact while Impatience is active. Tyrant Impact is as follows. Press and hold the attack button to slow yourself severely, charging a powerful swing of your fist. Releasing after 2 seconds will launch yourself forward like a normal lunge. Survivors struck by Tyrant's Impatience knocked back 4 meters and briefly stunned if they collide into the environment. If they collide with a drop pallet or breakable wall, it will break instantly. The successful hit has 3 seconds to recover. And finally, we have Relentless Pursuer number 4. While chasing a survivor, Impatience movement speed bonus is increased by 5%, and Tyrant's Impact does not require you to hold the attack button and can be performed as a normal lunge. Depleting the power gauge completely causes you to regress to Relentless Pursuer number 2. Now again, the gameplay of this is actually available and you can take a look in the link in the description. Let's talk about some of the perks. The first one on the list is No Safe Heaven. Whenever a survivor enters a locker within your terror radius, it calls upon the entity to block the locker for survivors. The locker remains blocked for up to 5 seconds. So quite nice. I always wanted something like that to come into the game, so it will be interesting. The next one is Unstoppable. After being stunned, destroying breakable walls and pallets are 15% faster for 16, 8, and 10 seconds. So like a Brutal Strength, but in a way, you get to use it only when you are stunned. And finally, we have Tunnel Vision. While chasing a survivor, for every vault, hide, and pallet drop action performed within 12 meters of you, you gain a stackable movement speed increase of 1.5. So it'll be quite nice with something like Play With Your Food. And again, take a look at the concept in the link in the description. And a job well done to Rareth Links. And finally, the last concept that we have is Lady D's Daughters. Now, there's been a lot of talk that Lady D's Daughters could come into the game because of the way the 5 looks in the Dead by Daylight promotion for year 5. And obviously last year we had 4 with Pyramid Head, so everyone's been jumping the gun saying that it's going to be Lady D's Daughters. Now, this is a possibility. I don't fully believe in it. I do believe we're going to be seeing Mr. X with Leon and Claire, but we're still going to entertain the idea. Now, I actually didn't find anything specifically online that people have, talked about, but since I just finished playing Resident Evil Village, I thought I could give my opinions on this. As we know, in the game, she actually uses a power where she kind of just teleports around with bugs. So in some way or some shape, I don't really have balancing in mind when saying this, you can give her the ability similar to Nurse to traverse the map in her B-state form. During this time, she would move at an increased movement speed, traversing the map and seeing the auras of survivors. She can then go straight to the survivor and come out of this similar to the Wraith, and once there she can go into her normal phase and be able to attack survivors. Now, depending on how you want to balance this, you can make it strong by making that cooldown very quick and she can attack immediately, or you can make it a little bit slower and make it more fair where it will take some time. This is similar to many games like last year, and we even seen it in Home Sweet Home where you could traverse the map really quickly, see the auras of survivors, and automatically appear there. And it makes a lot of sense considering this is the same exact way it worked in the game. As for the perks, I don't really have anything in my mind that they do specifically, so I don't really have anything to mess around with, but I'll leave that up to you guys in the comments below to tell me some of the perks that you would like to see coming on in if one of these killers were to come into the game, and specifically with Lady D's daughters. With that being said, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video, and I hope you guys did enjoy. It was a lot of fun taking a look at some of these Resident Evil chapters, and it's right around the corner when we get the reveal. So I'm pretty pumped up for that, and I can't wait to see. But my friends, that is going to wrap it up for this video, but the conversation is not over. Make sure you guys come on over to Twitch, because we are live right now, and we can talk a little bit more about it. I have some fun playing some DBD games. But that's going to do it. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. As always, I'm the King. I tip my crowns to you guys, and we'll see you in the fog.